So in a previous video, we talked about how July of 2024 was a huge month for fall throughs, and we discussed the possible reasons for that. One being that the buyers may have just gotten a little picky. Rates were supposed to be coming down, so if they weren't satisfied, they may have just gotten some cold feet and buyer's remorse and backed out. Another reason, though, could be that sellers just aren't used to making repairs anymore. They're not used to being asked to make them. So sellers probably just played hardball and lost out. It was probably a combination of those two. But how should you approach inspection negotiations when you're in a real estate transaction? They're very tricky, but there are ways to make them more simple so that you have a win-win for both parties. One strategy is just to go with the path of least resistance and ask for no repairs. Not a good idea. If you're in a competitive situation where you're in multiple offers, that might be a good strategy, and it has paid off for some of my buyers. They loved the house, they wanted the house, they didn't find anything major wrong, so they just didn't ask for anything. They jumped on it with both feet. And again, if the house is good, that's a strategy that you might want to use. Then other buyers treat it like new construction and ask for everything to be done. Everything possible. That usually does end in a deal that goes down. Sellers often don't want to tighten every bolt. They don't want to do the minor stuff and the major stuff. And a lot of times, seriously, they just don't have enough time to get all of those laundry lists of repairs done before closing. So it makes things complicated when people ask for everything. And sometimes they're not being hard-headed. It's just not humanly possible for them to get all that done. So what does work? Well, it's like with everything else, the extremes are a little crazy, but when you kind of focus in on the middle, some things to consider. The best strategy is to ask for large items to be repaired, things that might make you consider walking away unless the seller does something about them. For instance, if there's mold that's discovered, but the source is identifiable and some remediation can take care of that, that is a large item that you may want to request. If there are some structural issues that are correctable, you may want to ask the seller for that. Roofs are common. A lot of people, if they discover that the roof was improperly installed or just not in very good shape, they'll ask for that. So ask for the large items and skip the small ones, or ask for a seller credit for the smaller items that you can somewhat handle on your own. Sometimes with inspections, though, the houses have so many issues that it's overwhelming to both the buyers and sellers, and in those cases, most of the time, that's not going to happen. The seller probably needs to pull that house off the market, make some of those repairs, and put it back on. But I always like the idea of asking for the large repairs and then maybe asking for that seller credit in the form of closing costs that actually puts money back in the buyer's pocket to have the repairs made. So if they can handle the small stuff either with a credit or on their own, and the sellers can address anything large, that's usually the best case scenario. Under no circumstances can the buyers proceed with their loan, though, if there are appraisal-related issues with the house that will keep them from getting that loan. So sellers, if you accept a government-backed loan, you've got to understand that FHA, VA, USDA, those types of programs will require handrails. You can't have a whole flight of stairs with no handrails. They will require that paint not be flaking and peeling off the house. That's a huge no-no. And the house should be in general repair so that it can be habitable. If you've got trip hazards or holes in walls or other things like that, you're going to have to consider too that appraisal piece of the puzzle, where any appraisal related repairs really need to be made. Before you ever list, you should have an agent go through the house with you and tell you those things that are likely to come up on appraisal, because those are going to be most important for the buyers who have government-backed loans, and they have no choice in that matter. If that deal is going to move forward and the appraiser does condition a repair, that has got to be done in order for them to get their financing. So if you have questions about inspection negotiations or any other real estate related topic, Feel free to reach out to me by phone, text, private message, email, and if you're watching on YouTube, please feel free to subscribe. Thanks. Bye.